Try Life On family, welcome back for another edition of the Try Life On podcast. I'm going to do this intro more like a working meeting with you. And the reason I'm going to do it that way is because I think that this is going to be one of the most powerful episodes I've released on the Try Life On podcast, which, by the way, has been heard in 84 countries. Bravo. Thank you for that. That makes me feel wonderful that information is getting out that far. I'm going to do this as a working session because there is an enormous amount for me to distill about this episode. And what this episode is actually a coaching session that I am having with one of my coaching students who is going through a mindset shift during the coaching session. Here's why that's important. Lifestyle design coaching for me, the primary outcome is to help people build lifestyle you don't need a vacation from. I tell people all the time, I don't take vacations anymore. My lifestyle doesn't need a vacation. I'm either in Washington, D.C., I'm traveling through the Mideast, whether it's Lebanon or Cyprus. I'm up in Turkey. I'm in Greece. I'm doing business remotely from a real estate perspective, from a coaching perspective, et cetera. I can be anywhere at any time for any reason. I've set the structure of my life up that way. So for this particular coaching student, we are getting him to the framework by which he can live his perfect day whenever he wants to. And what happened during this episode is you could see the shift that was happening. And I asked him if it was okay for me to use this episode to help you guys, and he agreed to it. The biggest thing that came through on this episode, I have a Try Life On principles sheet, which has 24 principles that I've authored to help people break out of the mindset of the status quo. And the first principle is status quo is a default language. And you'll see during this conversation how status quo and, well, I can't do that because that's not possible because all of a sudden gives way from the mindset of if only to what if. So the conversation I'm having here is with a coaching student who actually lives in Kuwait. I love the fact that this is an international person because I spend so much time overseas. He lives in Kuwait. He's getting ready to move to Dubai. And what he's doing, the reason why we're having this session is because he just came back from a trip where he was trying life on. One of the principles is life is to be practiced. It's not a destination. So he went to go practice life in Dubai, like literally practice life for 4 days, what it would be like to live there, operate there, function there, have employment there, etc. And he ended up down in Oman for a bunch of reasons, okay? I want you to go with the story while he's telling it to you. But here's the thing. You'll see the mindset shifts start to happen when we talk about the fact that he was out and about in the world practicing life, right? When he went out in the world to practice life, the purpose of him doing that is because he's trying to get the framework by which he can live his perfect day. And one of the places he thinks he can do it is Dubai. So going there, he went there for a 4-day time period. He talked about the fact that he went for the 4 days. Since he's known me, he's been practicing how I personally travel 4 days at a time, depending on where I'm going in the world. And he could feel when he was there, when he went down to Oman, this thing that happens when you start to move out of your comfort zone, feel a different culture, build new relationships, start talking about financial freedom. This beginner's mindset starts to come back to us as adults. Because the problem with adults is we've forgotten how to dream. And one of the ways that we can get back to dreaming is by being mobile in the world and going after our perfect day, practicing our perfect day, even bringing along your spouse when you have one of these Try Life On trips. During the conversation, we talked about the fact that he was looking for employment, but also what would happen if he added a second employment. I want you guys to pay attention to that because there's tricks you can use by adding a second employment. You can challenge yourself to exercise the principle of making your day-to-day life difficult while making your investing life easy. I say it reverse, making your investing life easy and keeping your day-to-day life difficult. I want you to pay attention to when he talks about the two jobs, okay? But there is a definite mindset shift through the conversation. We talked a lot about intuition. His intuition is telling him that he's supposed to be doing something in life, but his status quo default programming is pulling him back to everything that's safe. His existing job, his existing home, his existing relationships. It's hard for adults to make the shift. but you're going to see how I helped him make the shift during the conversation. He talked about having fear of doing business in another country because that's something that he can do relative to a new lifestyle. And I quickly reminded him that one of the ways you can get over fear is stop worrying about the what and start focusing on the who. So in my use case, one of the ways that I ended up in Cyprus doing real estate work in the Mediterranean is because I found a who. I don't know all the local laws. I can't do everything as a foreigner. I couldn't even open a bank account as a foreigner, but I have the guy who's now essentially a brother to me. I found a who versus the what. So he and I talked about that principle as well. And I totally helped him get rid of the notion that he could not do business in another country. He was just reverting to safety. We talked about the ladder of success. Whenever you're making a shift in life, the first step is always the biggest. It's always that 1 mile gigantic thing you have to do. But the subsequent steps after that to dramatically impact your life get smaller and easier because you've already done the heavy lifting. So pay attention when we talk about the ladder of success. And then it got a little bit personal because in my own lifestyle journey, I am spending time between the United States and Lebanon at the moment. And I've been going to Lebanon now for 4 years, Lebanon and Cyprus, but more Lebanon on the personal side, Cyprus on the business side. When I do go there from time to time, I do have imposter syndrome. Like, should I be here? Is this where my life is headed? Can I really be living a dual lifestyle between the United States East Coast, because my son is here on the East Coast, and this beautiful country where I've made a lot of friends and respect a lot of people and the culture and what have you? I go through imposter syndrome sometimes. Sometimes I do feel alone in the environment when, for example, if I'm with my friends all weekend and all of a sudden they have to go to work on Monday. I mean, I don't work there. So if I'm doing something, I'm doing it on my laptop from my apartment or my room, or I'm doing philanthropy work somewhere, but I'm not totally ingrained in the environment. I do get imposter syndrome. So we talked about how to overcome that kind of thing when you are starting a new lifestyle. And by the way, for those listening, it does not mean lifestyle must be in a new country. That's not what I'm suggesting. Lifestyle could be a new job, a new style of career. Instead of being in the office, being virtual. When I shifted from being in corporate, a new lifestyle for me was being a police officer. We can go through these mental motions where we have imposter syndrome. We don't feel correct. We talked quite a bit about how to get over that. The bottom line for this episode is it is a coaching session with one of my students who just did a Try Life On trip to go practice life. You can feel the mindset shift in him that he's never going back to status quo. Somewhere around minute 40, a big thing happens, but you really need to listen to the entire episode to understand exactly what happens. I will leave you with this. My coaching student is changing his life. I changed my life. One of the things that I do now is I commute from the East Coast of the US over to the Mideast. I'll leave on a Wednesday and come back. I'll leave on a Wednesday, see my friends when I arrive on Thursday, do something on Friday. I'm usually at a beach or somewhere quiet by Saturday because I like to decompress by the Mediterranean Sea. Sunday, I'll have lunch with someone, and Sunday night, I'll start my rhythm back to the United States on a 1:45 a.m. direct flight to Washington, D.C. So I'm home in time to pick up my 10-year-old and take him to school at 7:30 a.m. That is my commute. That is a designed life. And people who say it cannot be done, this is a Try Life On principle. People who say it cannot be done should not interrupt those of us who are doing it. There are a lot of people living unique lives that have gotten over mindset issues, that have set up foundationally how to achieve financial freedom, time freedom, geographic freedom, building their purpose of what they want to be on this planet, and building meaningful relationships with people, because life is experiences and relationships. Money is just a byproduct. Nobody is thinking about money when we die. We're thinking about the experiences we had, the relationships that we have, or the ones we never got to do. Family, friends, peers, coworkers can always be an excuse to stop you from doing this stuff. We talked about that in the episode as well. You've got to say no to that. And I went into that in depth. All right. Look, that wasn't a concise intro, and it wasn't meant to be a concise intro. It was meant to be it is hard work to redesign your life. It is a ton of work. There is mindset shifts that need to occur. There's rewiring and reprogramming that needs to occur. One of the reasons I start people with writing their perfect day and attaching emotion to it is because if you don't have that as a North Star, you're not going to have enough drive and motivation to make these shifts and to take these actions and get out in the world and go practice life and shift what it is you want to be, who you want to be, how you want to feel on a day-to-day basis. Life is a beautiful thing. You are going to see a great shift in this episode, and I just kind of wanted to intro it that way. So it's going to be kind of long, but this stuff takes work. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you appreciate the fact that he let me use this video and this audio. I'm grateful to him, but this is the kind of work that I do with my coaching students. And when I see someone have a breakthrough like this, I'm just happy, because that's my purpose, is helping people like you create lifestyle you don't need a vacation from, putting it on this podcast, showing you examples, expressing the principles to you, writing the newsletters that I write. If you haven't read the newsletters, go to trylifeon.com, go to the newsletter section, and of course, publishing these podcasts, because there are many people like me out there doing it. I can't post every single one-on-one session that I have with my coaching students because sometimes things are deeply personal. But in this case, I was going off on my man, getting on my soapbox a little bit from a mindset perspective, and I thought it would benefit you guys greatly. Thanks for listening. If you find this useful, please consider giving me a 5-star rating so other people can try and find the Try Life On podcast and we can get it to 15 more countries. Pretty awesome. I'm in 84 countries. That's nuts. But actually, maybe it's not. People just want to shift their life, right? Thank you for listening. Thank you to my coaching student for letting me use this info. It's a long episode. It needs to be, because your life is worth it. Sit back, relax. Welcome to this amazing edition of the Try Life On podcast. I'm a fan of it, just because I saw what happened to my guy, and I'm just happy. I hope you guys enjoy it. Take care.
Hey, Maurice.
Hey, Subash, how are you?
Good.
What's happening, brother?
Yeah, it was a great trip and a lot of new stuff. I mean, I couldn't believe I was doing.
Yeah, what are some reflections from the trip and any outcomes that came of it relative to your goals and actions?
I got to connect with a few people who might be potential connections, but this was more like an introductory connection, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was supposed to go to Dubai, and then we kind of received an invitation to Oman.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw it was
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, so and we got to Oman, and then we realized, even though Oman is in the same place as Kuwait and Dubai, Oman is more of a different landscape totally. It has mountains and all of that big stuff. So we were at a conference, and then we had a couple more days, and that's when I thought, okay, why don't we just go around and see what's up in this place, right? And then
Yeah.
I found out a lot of everybody from the city wanted to be in Oman because they loved being in the mountains, where it was
Which
cool.
Dubai doesn't have. Dubai doesn't have
Dubai, yeah, Dubai is
stuff.
like totally modern, like, you know, Las Vegas kind of vibe for Dubai, but
Yeah.
Oman is different. And then on top of the mountain, what we found out people were, you know, so there's all these traditional houses that uh, the the natives of the land used to live in. Like these
Mm-hmm.
houses had a different architecture. So some of these guys had renovated these houses and made them into hotels, right, for people to come and stay in and stuff like that. Because there's a huge market for tourism for people who want to come and stay in traditional Omani traditional houses. So the locals were like, okay, let's renovate this house, let's make it something more attractive for people to come and stay. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where we got to stay, and that's where I saw a potential. I'm not sure if how that works in the future, but one of the ideas I got was if I could partner with a local, and because there's so many of these houses which are like untouched, right? Like
Until
they
meaning
just,
they're empty or
yeah, they're like, you know, they're like damaged. Some of them are damaged. Some of them are like haven't been occupied a long time because the locals went from the village to the city,
Oh,
right?
I see. I see.
Yeah, but the houses are still there, right? But if we put in some amount of money, they could do some renovation to it and then turn that into an Airbnb, not an Airbnb, but a house with like different rooms where people can come and stay, and then
Yeah, housing, rooming house, a rooming
rooming
house.
house, right, right. And
Yeah.
then there's a place where they have in the balcony in the terrace have their breakfast in the morning, the traditional Arab breakfast kind of thing. So
Mm.
more on a tourism perspective, like so and one of these guys they did an amazing job. So they made sure the room, even the doors, the walls, the texture is still Omani. It's not like just a whitewashed room that you see in a hotel. It's just traditional Omani house. So for
Yeah.
me, that was the whole thing. That was like, okay, wow, you could do all of this here, and a lot of these people would come. Now, I mean, I always loved tourism. I mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, travel and stuff like that. So I was imagining this is what a lot of people would love to do. Come to a place like this and stay there. So that kind of stuck in my head. Um, but I
That
have
would
these
very much be like a potential lifestyle business.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to get into something like that, if I have a good a local native guy who is also equally interested in, because even some of the guy who took us around, the tour guide, he said some of these locals didn't like it that people from outside were coming in and not respecting their culture, and that's the reason why a lot of some of these locals were against this idea. But I told him, listen, we can find a way where we can come and still respect you guys. Like it doesn't have to be um you know because for example, there's a swimming pool out there and you cannot just go take bath in the swimming pool like you do in other countries. There's it's a more conservative neighborhood, right? You can't just
Okay.
do that.
Okay. Okay.
So there's a lot of those. I was having a lot of these discussions with the people there. So it kind of stuck in my head, of potential lifestyle idea, like you said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then so we came from there and then we went to Dubai, and then we met with this guy who said he also wanted to start a tourism business, but this is in Dubai because
Mm-hmm.
there's such a huge demand of people coming to Dubai right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of discussed where he said he's looking for partnerships for Dubai itself, right? So, but this is on a high level, just conversation kind of thing.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so this kind of gave me an insight into, I mean, I didn't put this into, my perfect day. This wasn't there
Yep.
on my perfect day, but it did do something, it did something for me to think this could be something I could do without looking at it like a job, you know.
You
Because
could, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, things like that have more purpose than just making money, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah,
personal growth in it. There's
yeah,
building meaningful relationships with people who know way more than you know about that particular topic, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like the trip kind of maybe it wasn't so much of a business trip as much as it was opening your mind kind of thing.
Yes, 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 yeah.
Because I recall you saying when the message you sent me that I think I just closed the message and just started smiling when you were like, Maurice, I kind of understand what you've been doing all these years
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
It does force you to think more expansively and be exposed to new things, and you get back into the beginner's mindset of everything.
right, right,
Yeah.
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 That was how it was. That was, I mean, it was completely unplanned. I wasn't planned on going to Oman, and I didn't even know. I automatically assumed Oman was like Dubai or Kuwait. I mean, even though I heard a bit of it, but because we were there for some other reason, we were like, why don't we use this opportunity to see around, like what's Oman like? And all of these tour guides are like, no, Oman is just what you saw is only like 10% of Oman. There are other places where you can go. There are there's beaches, there's rivers, there's huge mountains where you can go backpacking, trekking, or get on an open jeep and just go stay the night. There's a lot of
Mhm.
different activities to do. So I mean, we just had a couple of days there, or maybe 4 days, but we couldn't cover all of that. But I made some good contacts.
Good.
I should go back whenever possible again to, build on those contacts. But yeah,
Okay.
so it was thing, yeah.
So, did your perspective develop in terms of working in Dubai, working in Oman? Do you have to stay in the do you have to stay in the industry that you're in? Would you consider shifting something? I mean, and the reason I'm asking the question is because you don't necessarily have to go, be in the same field when you go to Dubai or potentially Oman. You in a 1 week period, and I get it, it's short, but this is what I meant by practicing life. And this is why it's on the principle sheet that life is something to be practiced. It's not a destination. It may very well be that part of your perfect day is generating money, but maybe the money's not being generated the way you're doing it now.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
maybe
very
it's
cool.
something else, because part of what I've noticed from you is not, you've never said my life is terrible, but I've gotten the sense from you just want your life to feel different on a day-to-day basis.
Right. I mean, I haven't said that, but I feel like that all the time. I mean, because it isn't inspiring exactly what I do. I mean, it's not really something that I look forward to do every day. It's just the money.
Yep.
So yeah, so because it's bringing in the money, maybe I came across as something that it's terrible, right? Um, but it opened up a different perspective. Right? It actually, like what you said was right, it helped me realize what you were doing, what you were able to do, and I could do that in just a short trip of 2 to 3 days or 4 days. I realized there was so much that I could get into,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I still have that, which we're figuring it out, right? I can't do this while I'm here in Kuwait. I
Mm-hmm.
have to. Dubai now sounds like a base to me. Dubai is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
base to go to Oman. You can drive down to Oman and stuff like that. So
How far
getting a
how far a drive is it?
Oman is huge, but the shortest is like 4 to 5 hours. You could drive to Oman in 4 to 5 hours. It's not much of a yeah, yeah. And if you had to reach the capital, you'll be probably like 8 hours. Muscat, the
Okay.
capital.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of this. So for me, the idea was if I get a foothold in Dubai, and also the person that I'm talking to who says he wants to start a tourism thing, he wants to get into tourism thing, and which is what I see myself going into as a means of income, as a means of this thing.
As a second means of income or first or primary?
If it becomes primary, I'm all up for it. I mean, when it starts paying well, I switch off everything else. I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but as of now, like it would be when I start, I think it's obviously a second means of income. Yeah.
What
But
was I
the primary one is still what I'm doing right now, something which
I
I
get it. I get it. I mean, you have background, you have resume, it generates a fair amount of money, if not a lot of money. But the interesting thing is once you get to Dubai, because you will, God will provide, the right job is going to come around. Sometimes
Mhm.
shit takes time. Like you and I
Yeah.
can't snap our fingers. I have stuff on my perfect day right now that I can't break through, and I got to leave it to faith because I can't control everything.
Mm.
So that might be a faith walk there, but I I just want you to kind of hear what you're saying. Like we go into these careers, and the careers tend to be the dominant aspect of who we are in our life, right?
Right.
And then in my journey, because I became a police officer and I was in the military, I quickly started to see I'm much more than just this eccentric person. In fact, I don't like being referred to as an eccentric person. I like being referred to as Maurice. Oh, by the way, at one point in his life, he used to work for this company. We don't even remember the name anymore, right? You have the capacity for so much more, and that so much more would change dramatically how you feel on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So I'm not suggesting you do the travel stuff full time, or I'm not even suggesting you do the travel stuff, but I wanted to bring something up because a couple of my other coaching students are doing it. They've picked up second jobs. Some of them for the experiential aspect of what the second job is, so they can go try life on doing that tourism thing, working at Starbucks to be social, meet more people, becoming a bartender to meet more people. It changes the dynamic of what the day to day is. And then other people, this is the beautiful thing, other people get the second job to accelerate their financial blueprint. Because what ends up happening is they take the income from the second job. I actually get them to reverse it. You would think they would take the income from the second job and use that 100% to invest, right? I challenge people the other way around. Get the second income, use the second income because it's usually lower. Use the second income to live off of. Buy groceries with it, buy whatever you need with it. Take your full-time salary and invest that, because one of the other Try Life On principles is make your make your investing life easy and your day-to-day life hard. So what if you were penny pinching a little bit on the day-to-day, but oh my God, we have $7,000 going to investing. All we got to do is do this hard road for 10 months. We have $70,000 down payment on something. We do a deal. And if we decide at that point we're going to go back to normal, we go back to normal. But we have to challenge our, you know what I mean? Otherwise,
Right.
the world just takes money out of our pocket constantly. Speeding tickets, taxes, it's crazy. So there's the benefit of potentially thinking about a secondary thing, one for the experiential aspect, and then two, because you're on your financial blueprint, there's not a ton that you can store, but if you added a second job that was making you happy, even if it's bringing in an extra $1,000 a month, you've accelerated. And lastly, what you've done is proven to yourself that you don't have to rely on one entity, that Subash and Maurice, we can go generate revenue many ways. Money's abundant. It's out there. We just have to do it. Might be predicated on you getting out of Kuwait, because I understand there's not much that you can do there. But herein lies more motivation to get the hell out, because then your life starts to open up creatively.
That's true. I mean, when I came back, the push to leave, to be out of this place as quick as I can is
it's stronger now.
Yeah, it's stronger now. I mean, it was always stronger when the job thing happened. They said I could leave in a couple of months, but then this was like more. Oh, okay. So mine's like, oh wow, there's all of this stuff there that I can get into, kind of thing. As long as I'm consistently meeting people and investing in relationships. So yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, and I would suggest that your mindset is becoming even more solidified about the stuff, the feeling of it. We don't even know, but we do sense a feeling, and our intuition comes in. You know what? My perfect day is possible. I can add another piece of revenue. I can go to a totally new cultural environment from a geographic freedom perspective, use it as a base, work in Dubai from Monday to Thursday, and on Friday me and Jemima go to Oman, or we go to India, or we fly up to this place, or whatever. That's when you start to get into the design of your life. I want to tell you something. I'm coaching Drew Gibson right now, who's in the chat. If you ever want to talk with him, he's probably 2 months ahead of you in terms of his mindset's re-solidifying into something totally different. It's uncanny, because what happened to him was he works for a tech startup. He's getting good money there, but he doesn't care anymore, because he recognizes that the tech startup, its only job is to just give him those checks, because his wife, his kids, they've all bought into the fact that they can design their life. So if they've bought into the fact that they can design their life, and that's where they're putting all their effort, green time and gold time, if that's where they're putting all their effort, then how could he conceivably think that the IT thing is the priority? His mind has totally shifted. In fact, on his blueprint, because they were doing some real estate stuff before, they've accelerated that blueprint a bit, because they had some pockets of money here, pockets of money there, little thing, borrow some money from family. And he thinks he'll be able to leave work in a year or less. Now, when he leaves work in a year or less, it's going to be tight financially because of it. But they're preparing for it, because they would rather have the time to focus on the gold time and green time and what's on the lifestyle blueprint than to be commuting to the job. They just made the decision. It gets powerful after a while, man, and you can't unsee or unfeel what you felt.
Yeah,
You got to lean into it even
I
more.
got it's a bold step here, bold step there. Yeah, even the fact that you said I could travel every weekend, right? Like I need to give myself permission to do that. That's the kind of thing like I'm in right now. Like, why don't I do that? Why haven't I done that kind of thing?
Can we
Right.
explore that real quick? Why is it why do you think, like, even when you said it now, I can tell you're still nervous to do something like that? Forget about Kuwait. Let's just say it's not the issue. Why do you think you can't? Or what makes you feel like you can't?
Um, so I look at this in the perspective of, you know, so I'm more like, I would do this once a month than every week or once in a couple of months, because for me it's like if I'm going to put, if I'm going to travel to Oman or whichever country, spending on my tickets, my hotel thing, um, I'm not exactly sure how much of that translates into. I think you mentioned this last time, or I asked you, I'm not sure how much of that translates into the stuff that I want to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, so investing in relationships, one, that's there.
Okay.
Two, would I get, you know, would I be going after a dead end kind of thing? Because it's
Hmm.
person who I'm meeting might not be legit, or, because I just met this guy who's a tour guide, right? And these guys are natives of the place, right? So
Hmm.
again, it's like, should I invest in this? Should I spend my money to go there and see this guy? Don't know what this guy is going to do. How do I know he's going to take care of everything properly when I'm not there, if I'm investing my money into a big venture like this, right? And
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's also the fact that I don't know the language of the place because I'm not local to the region. These guys are like, they're locals to the place. They know their country. They know everything, right? Um, so for me, it's like I would want to do this, but I want to do this in partnership with somebody who is also equally invested,
Yeah.
more like an accountability thing, right? Like, so if it's like three of us, like let's say there's one local and me and another guy or whoever it is who wants to do it, then we can push it. We can keep tabs on it, kind of so to speak. But me doing it alone feels a bit risky.
Yeah.
Not sure how.
I feel you.
Yeah,
Don't do it
yeah.
alone. Don't do it alone. So I want to run back a few of the things you said, and then I'm going to bring up the principle sheet and we're going to talk about a few things because, dude, this is all mindset related. And sometimes we do need an excuse, or sometimes we need an example to make us understand that it's okay. Okay. You see a Word document on your screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. Subash, everything you said, there's something that Tony Robbins talks about. I don't know if you have a pen to write this down, but it's very powerful. And he talks about your state meaning your physiology, but the
Hmm.
state you are in leads to the story that you tell yourself, which leads to the strategy that you create to go do what it is that you want to do. So state, story, strategy. And when we are in a low state or a disbelief state, an I cannot do this state, a depressed state, then we're going to tell ourselves a story that matches that state. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know anybody. It's just a story you're telling yourself.
Mm.
Nobody, I'm going to tell you something. Don't take this the wrong way, okay?
Hmm.
Outside of Jemima and maybe members of your some members of your family, nobody gives a shit what you do. So it's on you. Nobody's, Accenture doesn't care where I am right now. My police department, I haven't talked to anyone there outside of very close friends in 3 years. The moment I left, I was gone. Nobody
Mm.
cares. If you tell yourself a story that it's impossible, it's going to be impossible. my example to you is, as we walk down the principle sheet, your reality is negotiable. It's totally negotiable. And it's what you think about and act on constantly. And the biggest thing is, I don't know where it is here. Here. Subash, life is to be practiced. It's not, there's no destination, man. There's no destination. So when I did start figuring out the Cyprus thing and I found my now partner, there came a point where you just do it and you course correct
Mm.
along the way. I have sent probably, I don't know, $400,000 over there of my own money. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Conservatively on paper, it's probably worth like 3 million now, 2.5, maybe 3 million, but it's
Mm.
not sold, nothing's sold. So it's not real yet. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous all the time, but I'm not, because what I did was, instead of thinking about the what forever, like, how do I deal with the currency and what are the business rules in that country? And I just found a who. And my who was my partner. And then my other who, to make sure that my partner didn't do something that I just didn't understand, was my attorney.
Mm.
I just
So
plugged people to make it happen.
your attorney is also from Cyprus?
Yeah, I have an attorney in Cyprus who looks out for my affairs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right? So there are no rules, Subash. There's no rules to any of this. You belong. You 100% belong in anything that you're saying. And when you're saying I can't, I don't think I can travel every weekend, or I don't think I can travel every other weekend, you're just telling yourself a story, brother. The reason I ended up at 100 countries 350 times, because I just kept doing it. It didn't make sense, but it made sense for me. I made my extraordinary ordinary, which is what you can do. Don't rely on your old programming. Okay. If you go down here and you read this, please go from if only to what if. If only I could get there. Yeah, I got that. What if I do get the job in Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
find the right guy in Oman, we start
Mm-hmm.
working, we start course correcting, because it's not going to be perfect. Then I find a lawyer who is cheap on retainer. Let me just see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the magic starts to happen. Because we revert back to safety. Everything about your programming, everyone's mind. There's a new podcast episode coming out this week. You should listen to it. It's legit on the mind. Everything about the mind is to protect you. Go back to safety. Kuwait is safe. The job is safe. You have a beautiful wife. You guys are safe in the house together. Everything's about safety. When in fact, God just wants us to grow.
Right.
Which means taking risk, relative ones. And that's the journey. Life is to be practiced. There's no destination. You just go. You just do it. You get a little bit of information and you course correct along the way. So those intuitive ideas that are coming from your mind, I love them, because you weren't having those intuitive ideas before.
Mm-hmm.
And if your intuition is talking, that is life screaming at you. If your intuition is talking, that's life screaming at you. You got shit to do.
So when you say intuition, you mean like these ideas that popped
Yes.
out when I went to this place, kind of thing? That is that what you mean in terms of
Absolutely.
life?
Absolutely. We're going to do an exercise next week, but I'll remind you of this conversation next week. But the intuition thing is what leads us to take action. And actions could be a very big, your initial intuition led you to me. You took a step.
Yeah.
Which on the sheet, actually, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do the exercise now because it makes sense. But which on the sheet is a very, here, let's do this. This is really important. This is really, really important. Let me pull this up. Here. See, naturally something's coming up. This is good. Let me know when you can see that ladder?
I can see.
Okay. This is the ladder of success, okay? I
Mhm.
call it good is the enemy of great, but I'll tell you why. But this is called the ladder of success. And if your lifestyle is on the left side
Mhm.
and your steps that you've taken are on the right side, so think think before you reached out to me how you felt about like, man, something's up, like intuitively, I'm working for this company. We're okay, but I don't feel like I'm living. I feel like I'm existing. And it was probably what I anticipate to be a very painful or very difficult, like, I'm going to reach out to this random dude, Maurice, and try something.
Right.
It's painful and it's a big mile. We'll call it a mile, okay? It's a big mile move. It's massive. It's not massive in distance, but it's massive in mindset and then
Right.
massive from an investment perspective in time and going against all your programming and what you've been, right? Would you agree?
Right. 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 That was a big thing. I mean, I put it on for weeks. I think I started watching your posts on LinkedIn, and then I was like putting it off, and then I finally said, I have to do this. I have to get in touch with you. I have to, get this started, kind of thing.
But I applaud you because what you did by yourself without support, other than your own faith and maybe your wife, you just took a leap. Now, I'm not saying I'm the perfect or I'm the answer to everything that you are trying to figure out, but I'm certainly a catalyst. You took a
Hmm.
leap. All right, so let's say you took that leap. That's your 1 mile move, okay? Big,
Hmm.
big move. So now
Hmm.
let's say your lifestyle or at least mindset is kind of good. You're all right, but you
Hmm.
still got stuff to figure out. Like, and nowadays, people used to be good in college. Everybody's good in college. Good is not even good anymore. Good is poor. Like, not even, remember in the 80s, 70s, people coming out of college, they were great. You knew that they were going to be the CEO. Like, everybody's great now. Everybody has access to information. Everybody can use AI. SATs don't
Hmm.
even really matter anymore. And we all know it, right? Good is not enough. So you got to take the next step. And the next step might be a yard move. Now, here's the distinction between the yard and the mile. The mile was massive, but everything after that mile move is a little bit easier.
Hmm.
It's a little bit easier because now you're spending time with Mo, you're having conversations with Jemima, you've taken a trip, you're like, man, yeah, maybe I can do that. Whatever that 1 yard move is, maybe the 1 yard move was just you going to Dubai. And I love the fact that you pivoted to Oman because in my personal world, I will always pivot when a person tells me to. Meaning, I like that person. I want to be involved with that person. I will pivot.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to move you up the ladder. So that maybe a 1 yard move is less than the mile move. But what I'm trying to show you is that we want to get above that dotted line. Okay. So if
Hmm.
maybe you're like, okay, my mindset is great about lifestyle design, which is really just good, to be honest. So what is the next move? Whatever that move is, it's your reticular activating system. It's your intuition. It's your gut that's going to start to pick up on things.
Hmm.
And your job is to recognize it. Like,
Okay.
shit, what did you just say? Or what did that guy tell me? Or what did that girl tell me? Or what opportunity did I just see? And where you wouldn't have taken that 1 foot move before, you've already done the hard lifting at the bottom of this thing already. You just have to recognize it and act on it. You don't have prohibitions to acting on your gut. You have inhibitions. They're inside of you. No one's stopping you. You want to fly on a Thursday every Thursday and fly back on a Sunday? Do it. I do. The only person that can stop me from doing shit at this moment is my 10-year-old and me. Does that make sense?
That does, yeah.
All right. Let me give you one other thing, okay? On this. The notion is just to understand you've already done the heavy lifting, brother.
Hmm.
Your job now is to pay attention to your gut, your reticular activating system. When your brain is tingling, telling you about, you probably want to pay attention to it. In my life, in my business life, a 6-inch move when things got crazy was when me and my 4 partners hired a business coach for a year. That's significant. It was a 6-figure expense.
Hmm.
But he helped us organize. He helped us figure out our lines of are categories of improvement that we needed to work on. I don't want to find property anymore. I've been finding property for 25 years. I'm not interested. I'm interested in spending time with investors and talking to them about life and shooting the shit, right? So my job within Quattro is client relations. He helped us
mm,
figure that out. Where Chad is finding properties because he's phenomenal. He's helped.
mm,
We figured out our lane. When we got organized, the floodgates went nuts in 2021 and 2022. We did 20 deals in 2 years. That was the
mm,
6-inch move. When Kim came to us, like, I know we're all good professionals, and we are. We have 92, 93 years of professional experience between the 5 partners, but we need help to organize. And all of us was like, 20 grand? Like, man, yeah, okay, let's do it. Yeah, but that 20 grand probably led to that 20 grand investment
mm,
for me personally probably led to probably like 2 million of value in cash for me later.
mm,
So my question to you is to get from excellent to outstanding to ordinary, there's stuff out there. And when it presents itself, you got to think, is this a 1 foot? Is that a 6-inch? Is calling that guy in Oman a 6-inch move? Maybe that's a fucking 2 millimeter move that's going to change my life dramatically.
mm, mm,
I don't know. Only you will know. But what I'm suggesting to you is now that your mindset has shifted in understanding that you can create your own reality, your gut and your instinct is going to point you to certain things. And your job is to recognize when it's doing it and to act on it.
mm.
And if you need help, then you just find a who versus thinking about the what forever.
Yeah,
Find
like the whole. Yep, yep, yep. That's the part. Yes, yes.
and I have to say, and I say it on podcasts all the time, brother, I am not the best real estate investor. I'm not the best restaurant owner. I'm not the best developer. I'm not the best coach. I just found people who are, and I asked them a lot of questions and or I partnered with them until I got good. Like I think I'm a pretty good podcast host now. Does that latter make sense to you?
Yep, yep.
So
That was,
when you went on your trip, can you think of anything that you said or did or someone told you or Jemima stated or a gut feeling that you have that right now you could be like, man, maybe that's a 1 yard or 6 foot or 6-inch move or what is something that is on your mind that felt right?
um, I mean, the move would have to be into tourism. I mean, I feel like that's the move that I should be in. But nobody said that to me. I just felt it like, you
Why
know,
I have a thought, but I wanted to confuse why tourism? Why do you think tourism spoke to you? Or what do you mean when you say the word tourism?
I mean, for me, let's see. Okay, so I see it as one, okay, it's a way of making an income, right? But I'm gonna enjoy doing it because I love traveling. So that helps me. The good thing about tourism is, as opposed to what I'm doing right now, is I get to do a lot of travel. I get to meet a lot of people, make relationships, and see things happen. And then the output of that being, once everything comes up, and you know, there's going to be cash flow or whatever that is
Yeah.
there, right? So, but it makes it very interesting to pursue because I get to travel. I don't do what I'm doing right now, where it's just completely pointless. Or it's not pointless, it's just boring. It
Yeah.
helps me go around and meet people and see what's out there, right? Like going to different countries and seeing what's possible and how you can capitalize on something that's there. And it's also the fact that I believe, with talking to this guy, like he was put off by the fact that a lot of foreigners were coming in um and not respecting it. So
Mm.
I I told him that the thing that I thought about it, I mean, of course, I didn't tell him, is that I would love to work with people at the same time making sure that they would not be, affected. So in that sense, I feel like I would make a better relationship with this guy because I would respect the boundaries that is there.
Okay.
So that all of this just popped out for me, right? So I'm like, this is something I could do
Yep. Yep.
without um without feel like I'm slogging or I'm working hard or something.
Subash. Okay. You just coached yourself. You just won the prize. You won the prize. You have figured out what I've been doing for 20 years. You just stated it. I'm going to run it down for you, okay? With Jemima. Hi, Jemima. If you see this video, please rewatch the last 10 minutes. I'm going to tell you what you told me relative to tourism. It's not about tourism. That's not what you were talking about. It's just a vehicle to get to certain experiences, emotions, and relationships that you think
Mhm.
you want. You're looking for them.
Right.
Life is about experiences and relationships. How can you do that? Well, how you been doing it, Maurice? I've been moving around the planet. You know, the thing you said about mobility, you nailed it. Geographic freedom has absolutely nothing to do with travel. It has to do with mobility and your
Mm.
ability to get to certain places, get to people. It doesn't matter if they're down the street, in the next city, the next state, or the next
Mhm.
country. It's that you want to experience a relationship with that person. You need to be mobile to do it. If you are stuck in the office from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., then you don't have freedom or you don't have
Right.
geographic freedom,
Right.
right? So the mobility aspect that you're talking about within tourism, it just gives you the ability to be around and about to get to the experiences and relationships that you need. And you recognize that. The other thing, again, we're talking about the five freedoms.
Mhm.
Talk about relationships. You had a
Mm.
conversation with this person. I'm going to give you a secret of mine. You had a conversation with that person, and that person told you that one of their value systems is the fact that people come to that place and they don't respect that place. Here you are, a foreigner, you want to respect that place. That screams to me of someone who has a good value system that you could reinvest continuously in that relationship.
Mm.
Because you guys aren't doing business just for the sake of doing business and making money, which will, of course, be an outcome, but you would be doing business to help him with his value system. Like, okay, but how do we bring people here but make sure that they respect what's going on?
Right.
You
Right.
have a deeper thing with him. That's building meaningful relationships. What I have in Cyprus is much more meaningful. The guy's my brother now. Like, we'll make money, but I'm not so concerned. I mean, I want
Mhm.
to make money, don't get me wrong, but I'm not overly concerned about that. So you talk about mobility, you talked about relationships, you talk about doing the tourism stuff to get the financial gain, but that's fine. Fine. We need money. Money's money. Um, and then the last thing you said, which was so powerful, you probably even pick up on it. You like, I wouldn't even feel like I was working.
Yeah. It wouldn't be work for me if I was doing this like all day, every day, going to
So if you
country.
made 80% of what you make now at that kind of job, would you take it?
80%.
Of your existing salary at the tourism side, would you take it?
Mm-hmm. I think I would. If it's 80%, I
Oh my
would.
God. I would get on the plane myself to Kuwait and drag you out of the country if you said no. Because you can't place a dollar value on the other four things that we just talked about:
But
mobility, relationships,
but
finance.
again, Maurice, we are still placing a value, right? When you say 80%, like I'm placing a value on it. I'm not saying I need this 80% to even start doing this, right?
Mhm.
That's what I mean by 80%. So there's still that part of it is there. Um, but is that what you were trying to get me to
No, what I
understand?
was trying to get across to you is I want you to place value on all the things that you just stated. It's the
Okay.
same reason why when I left Accenture a year later, Amazon offered me $400,000 and I said absolutely not. Because I had my geographic freedom, my time freedom, my mobility. I had it. Why would I give up freedom for that kind of for money? Now,
Mm.
granted, you need a baseline job. I get that. But when you go back and watch this video, you got to even see the emotion on your face on the possibilities of life if you had that mobility to move around and experience different people and places and things.
Yeah, yeah. And that would, I think that would, I'm just thinking if I get this thing going, that would again fit into my perfect day of building communities. Because then you have the relationships and you know what to do, you know who to ask. You can build your own community. You'll get that'll happen, right? Um,
You will build your own community, Subash. And the other thing, now this is me being a student alongside of you, okay? The other thing I've come to realize is as a foreigner going to Lebanon, for example,
mhm,
people are very enamored of the fact that I continue to go back and I reinvest and I reinvest and I reinvest. And what that does is draw them to me and give them an excuse to come out because Maurice is here. Something
mm,
different is here. So I have become the center of my own community. People are waiting
mm,
for me to show up to even come out.
mm.
It's a beautiful thing, but there's no definition to this, Subash. There's no destination. It's just go practice it. It's just go do it. That's the journey.
Well, what do you do if you lose, Maurice? I'm sure you would have. I mean, you take risks and you lose, and I mean, does that?
That's
Mhm,
like, I mean, I'm not saying what I'm doing relative to Lebanon is easy. It's not. I have imposter syndrome sometimes. I feel alone sometimes. Let's say if I'm there on a Wednesday and my friends are with me every day, and all of a sudden it's Sunday and it's family day, and they go be with their families, and then they go to work on Monday. That can feel lonely a bit sometimes, but I have to
mm,
practice it. So
right.
what I figured out now is it's very important for me to have a purpose to execute there on a weekly basis. I need to be involved in something outside of just hanging out with my friends and
Mm,
outside of Quattro and coaching, because Quattro and coaching puts me squarely in a house all day.
right.
I've learned over time, I got to get involved in something that's on the ground with people, because the thing that makes me happy is interacting with people. There's
Mm.
no losing, man. There's just evolvement and understanding what makes sense and course correcting along the way. Because what's the alternative? To sit where you're sitting?
I would kill myself if I keep thinking.
Exactly. Eggs. Don't do that. But
Yeah.
exactly. And all the conversations we're having, Subash, I want to tell you, every coaching student has this notion that extraordinary cannot be ordinary for me. Do you question when I tell you, hey man, I'm going to get on a plane and go to the Mideast. I'll be back in 3 days?
Oh, I'm like, wow, this guy is like, he's got it. He set it up in a way where he can do this kind of thing, you
I,
know?
I,
Yeah.
I didn't set it up, Subash. I practiced it.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It took time. It took time.
yeah.
And in fact, the flight that I came back on, this is a beautiful thing, and then I'll wrap up for today. But the flight that I came back on, so I left on Wednesday night. I arrived Thursday at 5 p.m. I was at a dinner by 8:30 p.m. with friends. I was at a housewarming on Friday night with friends. I was at the beach by myself to decompress on Saturday. And then I ran down to the city to be with another friend, ended up sleeping at her house. And on Sunday at 5 p.m., I went to the airport, flew down to Jordan, got on a 1:45 a.m. flight, 12-hour direct to DC, landed at 6:15 a.m. And I was home at 7:20 in time to get Noah ready for school and to take him to the bus.
Wow. So,
It works. It works.
um,
I was a little bit tired on Monday, but I know how to travel hack, and that business class seat didn't cost me a lot of money. So I slept probably 7 hours on the plane. Flat, flat. I live in two places. I live in Washington, D.C. and Lebanon, and they are part of my commute. I will not give it up. And when I have imposter syndrome, And when I struggle, I remember that life is not a destination, it is something to be practiced. And Maurice, what is the alternative? Where are you going to go? What are you going to fall back on? You're going to go back to Accenture? There's that last principle on the principle sheet that says um, people who I want to read it verbatim. People who say it cannot be done, people who say it cannot be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. My life is my life, man. I'm executing it. And there's all these other coaching students who have changed their life dramatically, Subash, and it ain't got shit to do with real estate at all. They've gotten virtual jobs. They got a new job. They moved to another country. They switched industries. They quit altogether. They used, let's say, the Medical Leave Act to get 8 months off in the US because they could take advantage of it. And before they felt guilty taking advantage of it, but now they're like, screw them. It's my life. So many people are out here doing it, Subash. Your turn.
How do you, yeah, how do you balance that out with family? Like, so you leave your son and then you just fly and you come back and that you looks like that's kind of worked out, right?
That's
So
the
you
right
don't feel,
question. No, that's a perfect question because first of all, my oldest is 24. He's fine. He's on his own. My youngest is 10. Okay. I'm not with his mother anymore, but we are good co-parents. But even when I was with her, she supported it.
Mhm,
I expressed to her, this is who I am. If I sit, so when the conflict in Gaza started on October the 7th,
mhm.
I feel like this would make a great podcast episode, by the way. Like we're really going to,
Yeah, this is
when
awesome. Really,
this,
I wish this would
well,
have been a good
maybe
one.
we'll see if maybe we can cut out some personal stuff or whatever.
Yes, yes,
When
yes.
the conflict in Gaza started, I stopped going to the Mideast because there's stuff going on. I need to be
Yeah.
safe. I'm a father. I have to be responsible. And I was also working on my co-parenting relationship with my son's mom. So I really stayed put for 4 months. That 4 months taught me a lot about myself. And what it taught me was that I was not being authentic to myself and I needed to give myself grace.
Sorry, you mean the 4 months that you stayed back at home?
Yes,
Okay, okay, okay.
it's not me. I'm better when I'm mobile. And I'm
Mm,
actually a better father when I'm mobile and I come back and I'm so hyper focused on my son, he gets all of me. But when I was sitting still and just pressing repeat every day, taking him to activities, taking him to activities, taking him to the birthday party, like I felt like a taxi. So what
mm,
I talked to his mom about was the fact that this is who I am as fundamentally as a person. This is why my 10-year-old has been to 11 countries already and my 24-year-old has been to 15. This is what I do. This is who I am. For the same reason you talked about experiencing relationships and things around the world, I need to experience those to know that I'm living.
mm.
And I will not, under any circumstances, sacrifice that. As I told my two kids, and I love them dearly, I did not have both of you such that I don't live my life as a person.
Awesome.
That's not why I had you guys. I had you guys to impart on you everything I know and to be the best father I can. But the only person who's going to be with me for the rest of my life is me. I don't do regret. I go chase shit the way that I'm encouraging you. I get just enough information. I course correct along the way. I find meaningful or relationships to make meaningful to reinvest in. I find a who versus thinking about the what forever. And I just go. And it's not easy, Subash. Sometimes I struggle. Sometimes you don't get what you thought you were going to get out of it. But my journey is my journey, man. And I'm so grateful to him for showing me the way and helping me make instinct decisions that said, that's what you're doing. And I just do it. And you can too. I am no different than you. And you are no different than me. It's just that I unhitched myself from status quo. Status quo is a default language. That's what we're talking about. First principle, status quo is a default language. I don't do status quo. I just do what my gut and instinct is telling me. I listen to myself. You should too. And that's why we did the exercise today of like, man, your instincts are starting to talk to you now. This is where it gets good, brother. This is where you start testing. And this is where you reach out to me and into the triathlon community and be like, hey, I have this idea, or hey, has anybody done this, or hey, and you get someone like me and people in the community and other places to help you start knocking down doors. How did you do that? What was the mindset when you did that? Do you have any ideas for this? Shit just starts getting better, brother. So I know I ranted there, but man, you're onto something.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot. I'm gonna watch this video again after some time because there's a lot of stuff that I've been thinking about. Yeah, so
There is
it's
a
kind
lot
of,
of stuff.
yeah, I mean the point about, family and stuff that stuck with me for so long. I think I had a lot of opportunities the last 10 years which I could have, but I didn't take
Yeah.
because I was like, no, I need to be here. I need to be around them. I need to be doing this and that. And
Says who? This is the thing. Says who? Who's telling you that? Your programming is telling you that. Your familial upbringing from your parents is telling you that. It doesn't mean that if you and I decide to take 2 days off from our kids that we are bad parents. It means that we're showing our kids that when you want to live life, you go live life. Now, I will make arrangements for you, take care of you, but dad has to go do something. And next time it's going to be us. I'm laying the framework. In fact, I used to get a little bit guilty about me spending so much time in Cyprus when I was trying to learn about the development stuff. But the Philippine Haitian family owns more than 20 acres on a Mediterranean island that's being developed. My kids are going to benefit from that and take that legacy and do something with it. I feel zero regret for leaving my kids back home when I needed to. My father feels zero regret for when he had to fly back to Haiti or go to school and leave me and my brother with my mom for 2 weeks at a time. I don't care. Noah talks about it all the time. Dad, when are you getting back on the plane to Lebanon? Go get me that candy you always get me. He tells me, go get on the plane and get me the candy and come back. Because he's used to me, like, that's just what my dad does. That's my dad. And I'm proud of myself for taking those leaps of faith. My kids, both of them, understand that they can create their own reality. Best gift I could ever give them.
something that you said also struck like, if I get to be bold about what I want to do, I think everything around me also will settle to that, versus me thinking that, something will go wrong if I'm not here. But if I take a step forward, then whatever situation that I think is worrisome will also um, fall in place in terms of accepting the reality, like how you said about your son accepting that you will be out of the house for a couple of days, whatever, right? Yeah, that.
So this is a good one. This is a good one. So my dynamic with my 10-year-old is he has a rule. If I'm somewhere out in the world, he can call at any time and say, Dad, I need you home in 48 hours. That's the rule. If he needs me, I'm coming. I just need 48 hours to get there. Because I know at any given time, I can probably get on a plane within 8 hours, depending on what I'm doing, which means I can get there in 24 to 36 hours.
Mm-hmm.
He's used to it. He's used it once. He's used it twice that I can recall.
Because I don't have kids yet, but there's been
Yeah.
other
We
stuff in
have
play.
we have husbands, we have wives, we have employers. This is not just about family, Subash. We have husbands, wives, employers, moms and dads. You have to train them what your expectations of them is going to be. So when I had that run at Accenture with my boss, in effect, I trained her who I was going to be for her. And I would always say, she'll probably hear this, Elaine, what's the outcome you need? Blah, 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 I need $25 million in sales. Okay, I'll be back in 3 weeks. Let me do it my way. Okay, because I always got it done. But some days I work 1 hour, some days I work 16 hours, some days I didn't work. She didn't care because I kept bringing the outcome. But I had to teach her that over time to trust me. She trusted me. My kids trust me because over time, my actions have shown something. My son's mom trusts me. Whenever she needs money, if something desperate is going on, the money shows up. But I got to go live my life, man. This is what I'm trying to get across with Try Life On to people. We've got this one run. It's 28,000 days in the average 80-year lifetime. And we're relying on our status quo default language to tell us what to do. And I'm saying, F that. Follow your instinct, follow your gut. Now you have this lifestyle blueprint that's telling you how you want to exercise time freedom, financial freedom, geographic freedom. You just talked about the tourism thing, the experiences, the relationships, what you want, how you want to feel. What do you think I've been doing for the last 20 years with all these 100 countries, 300 times? Living. Police officer, federal agent, living. Different experiences, different relationships, living. It's not because I want to be the coolest person on LinkedIn. I have lived 5 lifetimes, brother. And you can do the exact same for yourself in your own way with your own version of what success means, not society's version of success. Just need a little bit of money for baseline. And then from there, be unapologetic about your lifestyle. Build lifestyle you do not need a vacation from. I do not take vacations, friend. I just live. Okay.
Wow. Okay, cool. Wow, yeah.
Grab your beautiful wife. Watch this again because you were onto something. Just to loop it back, you talked about tourism, but in fact, what you were getting at was your ability to be mobile, to access planet and life as intended, the ability to build meaningful relationships with people in unique places like Oman, like the gentleman you just talked about. The time. We need time freedom. We need time. We need mental and physical space to do things like, my man just told me he doesn't like when foreigners come and do blank, 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 and they disrespect the land. This is something I can really, truly grab onto with this particular gentleman, and we can build something with it. My guy from Lebanon told me he's trying to get his wine back into the US. I don't know nothing about distribution of wine, but I'm a good businessman and I have a hell of a network. It took me a week to find 3 distributors that are willing to talk to me to help my guy out. You're
awesome.
You're onto something, okay?
Awesome.
All right, man. Hey guys, this is Maurice, host of the Try Life On podcast, and thank you for listening to another episode. I hope you are finding it useful in helping you design your own lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from. If that's the case, please consider dropping a review for me, whether in Apple, iTunes, or in Spotify. Drop a review, put some stars on it, give me some feedback on how I can make the podcast better, what information you are looking for. I am doing my best to get information to you on the Try Life On principles, the 5 freedoms, how to build lifestyle, travel hacking, all of it. And I want to do it for you. So please do a review for me. And until next time, my name is Maurice Philogene, and this is the Try Life On podcast. Peace.